The crystalline spires of Zarketh Station pierced the violet nebula like shards of frozen starlight. Within its massive hangars, the galaxy's most prestigious dragon riders gathered to witness what many believed impossible: the taming of Void Ripper, the most savage stellar dragon ever captured. Assel stood among the crowd of spectators, her emerald scales catching the artificial light as she adjusted her ceremonial robes. As the lead xenobiologist of the Galactic Council, she had studied hundreds of dragon species across 12 systems, but nothing had prepared her for this creature. Void Ripper was a nightmare made flesh: 30 meters of obsidian scales, wings that could eclipse a small moon, and eyes that burned with the fury of dying stars. "Another failure," muttered Commander Thexol beside her, his mandibles clicking in frustration. "That's the 7th master trainer this month." Assel watched as the krill trainer was carried out on a stretcher, his exoskeleton cracked and smoking. Void Ripper thrashed against the quantum restraints, her roars shaking the entire hangar bay. The dragon's rage was palpable, a living thing that pressed against Assel's psychic senses like a blade. "Perhaps," Assel said carefully, "we're approaching this wrong. Every species we've tried has used dominance as their method. Force against force. Because that's how dragons are tamed," Thexol replied. "It's been this way for 3,000 years across every civilization. You establish superiority or you die." Assel's tail twitched in disagreement, but she remained silent. In the arena below, Void Ripper's rage intensified. The dragon had been captured near a dying star system, the last of her kind after a supernova had destroyed her nesting grounds. She fought not just for freedom, but with the grief of extinction itself. "Perhaps we should terminate the experiment," someone suggested. "The dragon is too unstable. She'll never bond with a rider." "Wait," Assel's voice cut through the murmurs. "There's one species we haven't tried." The crowd turned to her. Thexol's eyes widened. "You can't be serious. Humans? They're not even classified as a warrior species. They've barely been spacefaring for 2 centuries. "Exactly," Assel said. "They don't have our traditions, our biases." She tapped her communicator. "Bring Farah to the observation deck." Minutes later, a young human male entered, looking decidedly out of place among the assembled aliens. Farah was unremarkable by most standards: average height for his species, brown hair perpetually disheveled, wearing the simple gray coveralls of a station maintenance worker. He'd been assigned to the Dragon stables 3 months ago, cleaning waste systems and maintaining environmental controls. "You wanted to see me, ma'am." Farah's voice carried the soft accent of Earth's northern territories. "Tell me, Farah," Assel began. "In your time working near the dragon pens, have you observed Void Ripper?" The human's face lit up with unexpected enthusiasm. "Oh yes. She's magnificent. Terrifying, obviously, but magnificent. I've been watching her through the monitoring systems during my shifts." "And what have you observed?" Farah hesitated, as if worried his answer might sound foolish. "She's not angry exactly. I mean, she is, but that's not all of it. She's scared. And lonely. She lost everything. Her home, her family, probably her entire species. Every trainer who enters that arena comes in with weapons, restraints, showing dominance. They treat her like a thing to be broken." He paused. "But she's not a thing. She's a person." The observation deck fell silent. Several of the assembled aliens exchanged glances that ranged from skeptical to openly derisive. But Assel felt something shift in her understanding. "What would you do differently?" she asked. Farah looked down at the arena where Void Ripper continued to rage. "I'd ask her. I'd just ask." Thexol's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "Ask? You'd ask a stellar dragon for permission? She'd incinerate you the moment you entered her territory." "Maybe," Farah admitted. "But at least she'd have a choice. That's more respect than anyone's shown her since she got here." Assel made a decision that would either change history or end very badly. "Farah, would you be willing to try?" The human swallowed hard but nodded. "Yes, ma'am." 20 minutes later, after signing more liability waivers than he'd known existed, Farah stood at the arena entrance. He wore no armor, carried no weapons, and refused the psychic dampeners that might have protected his mind from the dragon's rage. "This is insane," Thexol muttered from the observation deck. "We're about to watch a human die." But Assel leaned forward, every sensor focused on the scene below. "Watch," the energy barrier lowered. Farah stepped through. Void Ripper's massive head swung toward him immediately, her eyes blazing with predatory focus. The temperature in the arena spiked as her internal furnace ignited, plasma dripping from her jaws. Every muscle in her body coiled to strike. Farah stood still. He didn't adopt a fighting stance or activate any defensive technology. He simply stood there, hands at his sides, and looked at the dragon. Then he did something that made every being on the observation deck inhale sharply. He sat down, cross-legged on the arena floor. Farah made himself smaller, vulnerable. He looked up at Void Ripper and spoke in a voice that carried through the suddenly silent hangar. "Hello, my name is Farah. I know you're angry. I know you're scared. I know you've lost everything." His voice was gentle, conversational, as if speaking to a frightened friend rather than a creature that could end him with a thought. "I can't imagine what that's like. Your whole world gone. Everyone you loved gone. And then we dragged you here, locked you up, and tried to force you into submission." Void Ripper's head tilted, her killing strike pausing. Confusion flickered through her burning eyes. "I'm not here to fight you," Farah continued. "I'm not here to break you or control you. I'm just here to ask you something." He took a breath. "Would you please let me sit with you? Would you please let me try to understand? You don't have to bond with anyone. You don't have to be ridden or trained or used. I just thought maybe you'd like someone to sit with. Someone who sees you as you are, not as a weapon or a tool." The dragon remained motionless, her massive form towering over the small human. Fire still dripped from her jaws, but she didn't strike. "Please," Farah said simply. "Just give me a chance to know you." The word hung in the air. Please. A concept so simple, so fundamentally human, that it had never occurred to any of the galaxy's sophisticated civilizations to try it with a creature they viewed as lesser. Void Ripper took a step forward. Then another. The assembled aliens held their collective breath, certain they were about to witness a tragedy. The dragon lowered her massive head until it was level with Farah. Her eyes, each one larger than his entire body, studying him with an intelligence that was undeniable. For a long moment nothing happened. Then Void Ripper settled onto the arena floor, her wings folding against her sides. She released a long breath that washed over Farah like a warm wind and closed her eyes. Permission granted. Farah slowly reached out and placed his hand on her scaled snout. "Thank you," he whispered. In the observation deck, Asil felt tears forming in her eyes, something her species rarely experienced. She looked at Thexal, whose expression had shifted from skepticism to wonder. "How?" the commander asked. "How did a human succeed where our greatest masters failed?" Asil watched as Farah sat beside the dragon, the two beings existing in peaceful silence, predator and prey, ancient and young, alien and human, finding common ground in the simplest acknowledgement of personhood. "Because," she said softly, "humans understand something we forgot millennia ago. Power isn't everything. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is ask, rather than demand, to offer choice rather than force." She paused, watching as Void Ripper's massive tail curled protectively around the small human figure. They remember that every being, no matter how different, deserves to be treated with dignity. Below, Farah leaned against Void Ripper's side, and the last stellar dragon of her kind finally rested.